Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. Shabbat Shalom to the whole house, the whole Ba'if of Yasha'al, all 12 tribes, wherever your feet are touching the soil on this most Kadush Yom, which is a sign and a seal and a mark of the everlasting covenant between Yahuwah and his covenant people. It is a Yom in which identify us as his covenant people. It is a Yom, a day in which identifies him as the Elohim of creation. Shabbat Shalom, peace and blessings, Shalom and Barak'u to the whole Ba'if, the whole house of Yasha'al, wherever your feet are touching the soil on this day. Shabbat Shalom to the elder brother, Yahudah. Shabbat Shalom to the younger brother, Ephraim. Shabbat Shalom to the former stranger, the former foreigner, who was formerly estranged from the everlasting covenant, but having received the Ruach of adoption, the Ruach HaKadosh, the Ruach of the Mashiach, Yahusha HaMashiach, and whereby having been engrafted into the olive tree, who is Yahusha, who is Yasha'al, and whereby now becoming fellow citizens of the nation of the house of Yasha'al, and now whereby becoming our fellow partakers of the same everlasting covenant and promise and inheritance which was given to Yasha'al and to Yasha'al alone. Shabbat Shalom to you, wherever your feet are touching the soil, to you and your entire house, peace and blessings, Shalom and Barak'u, to you and your family on this Yom. Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. To those of you who are on YouTube, Barak Yahuwah, we're grateful that the Master has once again sent you our way to spend this Shabbat Yom, it'll be later on for you, with Yahuwah's remnant. And as it has been said once before, we are not some 501(c) organization. We are not some church. We are not some camp. We are not some entity. We merely are who we are, and that is Yahuwah's remnant, of whom he is gathering from the four corners of the earth, doing this mu'adah, doing this appointed time. And we are grateful that the Master has sent you by to feast with us, to celebrate with us, to rest with Yahuwah's remnant on this most Kadush Yom. Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. For those of you, again, who are on YouTube, who would desire to join Yahuwah's remnant live, wherever you are across the four corners of this earth, for those of you who would like to join us live for either our Shabbat gatherings or our fourth day gatherings, you may contact us, and we are going to list the email address. Where are you going to put it, little one? In the comment section or in the description? In the video description, you will find an email address, Barak Yahuwah, of which you may use to contact us if you have a desire to fellowship with us, to join us live, either on our Shabbat gatherings or on our midweek gatherings, our fourth day gatherings, otherwise called Wednesday. Barak Yahuwah. Nevertheless, once again, welcome to Yahuwah's Remnant Shabbat Gathering. I am Dawood Ben Yahuwah, and this is my Aisha, otherwise known as wife, Ashaya.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to you. Shabbat Shalom. As one of my beloved sons said, I'm kind of juiced today. Barak Yahuwah. I'm kind of juiced. Didn't start out that way, however, Barak Yahuwah, but Barak Yahuwah, he has strengthened me. He has given me sufficient strength for this day, not by power, not by might, but by his Ruach, thus says Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. There is a word. There is a word from the Master. There is a word for his people, for his covenant people in this time, in this mu'adah. There is a word from the Master. There is a word from the Master. This journey continues. This journey, Barak Yahuwah, to Mount Zion. To Mount Zion, it continues. And as we continue this journey, the Master continues to unravel things. He continues to establish building blocks for his covenant people in which to build upon. because indeed there is something being built. Indeed there is. There is an assembly being built, an assembly across the four corners of this earth, a remnant assembly that is being built. And if you will, it is a house that is being built. It is a temple, a haiko that is being built, because indeed his covenant people is not so much an assembly, it's not so much even a people, it is a house. He is building his own spiritual house in which to dwell in. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. It is a temple. It is a house in which he is building with living stones, not dead stones, with living stones. And these living stones in this season is no other than the house of Yahudah, of whom he is sealing now in this season with the seal of what? Of the seal of the living Elohim. He is making living stones. Yes, he is. He is making living abanim, living stones in which to apply to his living temple, his living house, his living tent of witness. And so he is gathering living stones. Living stones, and you can't be a living stone unless you have the seal of the living Elohim, unless you have his breath, unless you have his Ruach. Otherwise, you're just a dead stone. You see, it's never been about dead stones. It's never been about a house made with hands of either a tent of a witness or the first and second temple built with dead stones. It's never been about dead stones. It's always been about living stones and the building of a living house, a living tabernacle, a living haiko with living stones, with those of us who are his people who have been sealed with the seal of the living Elohim. And it is these who are his covenant people. And in this season, the master has shown us line upon line, precept upon precept, that covenant people is the house of Yahudah, who was never divorced from him. Although Yahudah was sent away, Yahudah was shalak, Yahudah was put away, Yahudah was never divorced. Never did he divorce the house of Yahudah. He could not divorce the house of Yahudah, not because of our own righteousness, but because of the promise that he made to sovereign Dawood, and because of what is written in the scriptures. The promise, the covenant that he made to Dawood was that he would never lack a man to sit on the throne of Judah, of Yahudah. And it is through sovereign Dawood that the Mashiach comes. The Mashiach comes from the line of the house of Dawood to establish the throne of Yahuwah in the earth throughout eternity. He establishes his throne in the earth through Dawood. This is why Dawood will not lack a man to sit on the throne throughout eternity forever. And so the Master Yahuwah, because of this promise to Dawood, he could not divorce Yahudah. Because he had to come through Dawood. He had to come through Yahudah, and he had to come through him to establish his throne in the earth throughout eternity. So don't get it twisted. It's not because of our righteousness, Yahudah, that we were not divorced, because the text declares that Yahudah was more treacherous than the younger daughter, was more treacherous than Ephraim, and Ephraim did some wicked stuff. Ephraim is still doing wicked things. Still doing wicked things. And those who are of the house of Yahudah, who say that they are Yahudim, who are still doing these wicked things, you're not Yahudah. No, you're not. You're not Yahudah. Because Yahudah, who is his covenant people, does righteousness. You who make the boast of saying that I am a Yahudim, but who is doing unrighteousness, you with Ephraim. You with Ephraim. Yes, you are. You're with the younger son. You're with the younger daughter. And because Ephraim is still engaged in this folly, Ephraim is destined to be corrected via the rod of correction, via the great distress, via Yahuwah's distress, via the great tribulation, to have this folly driven out of him. And so all who are operating in folly, you ain't Yahudah. No, you're not. You're with Ephraim. And the master has made the case that soon this great time of trouble, this great hour of distress is coming to the earth. And he has made the plea. He has made the plea to whomever has ears to hear, to the four corners of this earth, that he is coming to save a remnant people. He is coming to save a remnant within a remnant. He is coming to save his covenant people, of which is no other than the house of Yahudah in this season, the elder daughter, the elder son, as outlined in the Torah, Genesis 29, and that the elder daughter is to be given away in marriage first. She is to be given away in marriage first, and then the younger daughter is to be given into marriage later after 7 days. At the 7,000th year, the younger daughter is to be rejoined in covenant marriage with her husband when two sticks become one, when Yahudah and Ephraim, when two sticks become one, and the woman becomes one, and there is one bride joined to one husband, the second Adam, Yahushua HaMashiach. And so he's coming soon. Coming soon. Indeed, Yahudah indeed goes first. Yahudah is identified as the 144,000. Yahudah is identified as the 144,000 and those who are joined to her. Yahudah is the elder son. Yahudah is the elder daughter of whom he is coming to gather first. He has spoken these words. The master himself has spoken these words that indeed Yahudah goes first. He has spoken these words. In fact, as I sit here, I say to you, thus says Yahuwah. Yahudah goes first. Yahudah goes first. But indeed, the master has shown us that, yes, we are at the brink. And this indeed is the consummation of times. This is that season, that short window of preparation, and that short window of separation of which he is going across the whole earth of sealing his people, sealing his remnant within the remnant, sealing his people with the seal of the living Elohim, of breathing his breath into us and sealing us with the seal of the living Elohim. And after he has sealed the full number of those of whom he is going to seal, he is not going to seal anymore. He will not seal anymore. Those who are not sealed, who have not made it on board of the ark, will be left to the great trial, the great tribulation, Yahuwah's distress, the great distress, to be corrected via his chastening rod. So this is a season unlike any other. And this is a season that we must become serious, that we must become adults, that we must act as though we are Yahudah, that we must act as though we are full grown. And so the master has given us now a series of building blocks to show us what a true Yahudi looks like. Because unless we are Yahudim, we're not going to escape the hour of trial that's coming upon this earth. He's only coming to get Yahudah. Line upon line, precept upon precept, he has established this truth. For those of you who are on YouTube, you can go back and get the foundation of this in previous videos. I don't have time to explain. We're moving forward here. We're moving forward. I don't have time to look back like Luke's wife. We're moving forward, so I don't have time to explain. You're going to have to go back to get this foundation. He's coming to get Yahudah. He's coming only to get Yahudah in this season. And so understanding this, we must be found to be walking as Yahudim. We must be found to be walking as Nazarene. And that is what? To walk as the Mashiach. That is to walk as Yahushua. Indeed, if it does not look like Yahushua, it's wrong. If it does not look like him, it is absolutely wrong. You can close the book. It's wrong. If it doesn't look like him, it's wrong. And so we now must pattern ourselves. We must pattern our lives. We must pattern our walk after the cloud. We must follow the cloud. We must pattern our lives after the cloud, and we must follow the cloud. The cloud is indeed Yahushua. True Yahudah, his true covenant people, follow the cloud. Indeed, true Yahudah, his true covenant people, within them the cloud resides. I don't have time to go over this. You got to go back. You have to go back. He's built this. These are building blocks. We're going higher. We're going higher and higher. I don't have time to go back for that. You're going to have to go back and get that foundation. But within his covenant people, you will always find the cloud. You will always find the tent of witness. You will always find the anointing. You will always find the kabul, the presence of Yahuwah. Within his people, you will always find Yahushua HaMashiach. If you don't find these things, It's not Yahudah. And you need to run and you need to flee for your life. Lest you be found in the valley of oh no, saying, oh no, how did I end up here in the hour of trial? If it doesn't look like the Mashiach, it's wrong. If it doesn't look like the Mashiach, it's not Yahudah. It is not his covenant people. This is important because you must connect yourself to true Yahudah in order to be saved from the hour of trial, which is soon to come upon this earth. And so in building these building blocks, the Master has sent me by to speak about another building block this day. And I pray you're paying attention to these building blocks, Yahudah. I truly pray that you're paying attention to these building blocks that the Master has been speaking, because your very life depends on it. Your very life depends on it. And in these building blocks, he's making it crystal clear as to who is Yahudah and who is Ephraim. Who is his covenant people and who are not. I pray that you're paying attention. I pray that you are indeed paying attention. But he sent me by today to establish another building block. Another building block. Indeed, we now know that we must follow the cloud. We know that we must follow the cloud. The cloud always leads his covenant people. As the cloud led his covenant people to Mount Sinai, and as the cloud led his covenant people into the land, the cloud, which is the kabul, the very presence of Yahuwah, which is the messenger of the presence, which is the Ruach HaKadosh, which is Yahushua HaMashiach. That very cloud, that very same cloud is leading his covenant people now. That very same cloud will lead us, is going to lead us to Mount Zion. And that very same cloud will lead us back to our land. There is nothing new under the sun. We still must follow the cloud. We must follow the cloud. That cloud indeed took on flesh, wrapped himself up in flesh, and came to his very own covenant people in order to lead the way. That very same cloud, in order to lead the way in righteousness, in order to lead his people to life. That very same cloud wrapped himself up in flesh and came to his covenant people. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And we must now follow that very same cloud. We must follow that cloud. And the Master has sent me by today to speak to his covenant people, and that in following that cloud, and we're talking about the way to Mount Zion, the Master has given us a series of building blocks in terms of the way. He's given us a series of building blocks. And he sent me by today to speak to his covenant people, and that in following the cloud, you must understand, Yahudah, that love is the way. Love is the way. Indeed, love put on flesh. Barak Yahuwah. Love put on flesh. Love wrapped itself up in flesh and came to his covenant people to show his covenant people that love indeed is the way. Love is the way to Mount Zion. Love is the way. He wrapped himself up in flesh and led the way to show his people that love is the way. He was always moved to compassion. His motivation was always love. Always love. His motivation, I was so much wrapped up in love that he followed that motivation all the way to the death on the stake. Yes, he did. Love led him all the way to death upon the stake. Yes, it did. Love is the way, Yahudah. Love is the way. Love is the Ruach HaKadosh. Love is the anointing. Yes, it is. Love is the presence of Yahuwah. Love is Yahuwah. Where you find true, authentic love, hear him, lest you end up in the valley of oh no. Where you find true, authentic love, you will find his covenant people. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Where you find true, authentic love, you will find his covenant people. You will find true Yahudah. Because true Yahudah follows love. We follow the cloud. The cloud is love, little one. True Yahudah follows love. His covenant people follow love. We follow the cloud. The cloud is love. The cloud is Yahuwah, and Yahuwah is love. His true covenant people follow the cloud. And where you find true, authentic love, you will find his true covenant people. There are many, beloved ones, who in this season, who will tell you that they love you. They will tell you that they love you, Yahudah. But not all who say that they love you. Hear him, lest you end up in the valley of oh no. Many will tell you that they love you, but their fruit will tell the story. Their fruit will tell the story. Many in this season will tell you that they love you, but they won't truly show you that they love you. Many so-called Yahudim in the house of Yahudah will tell you that they love you. Hear, beloved ones, hear him. Even an animal can discern when it's true, authentic love that is being shown to them. Yes, they can. They respond to it. Animals respond to true love. Dogs, animals, they respond to true love. They know when someone truly loves them. Why is it that you don't know, Yahudah? Why is it that you don't know when someone truly loves you? You see, love doesn't, within his covenant people, love takes on a different appearance. It don't look like what the world calls love. No, it does not look like what the world calls love. You've got to eat everything, as my beloved brother has said. You've got to eat everything that comes from the table. Because it's all love. It's all love, and it does not take on the appearance as the world's love. So you've got to discern what true love looks like. You've got to discern what it looks like, what true love is. Because within his covenant people, you'll find it. Within Ephraim, you won't. Within his true covenant people, you will find true love. You will find it. Not everybody, just like not everybody who says that they are Yahudim or Yahudim. Not everybody that says that they love you, they truly love you. We see this taking place even in the world, and some of you men here and some of you women have fell victim to it. Where some of you men in your past lives, you'd meet a woman and you was attracted to her. You was attracted to her, but you wasn't really interested in her. You were interested in something that she had. And so you showered this woman. You set up, you ordered flowers. They ordered flowers, little one, and sent them to her house. Send her cards and take her out to dinner. And, buy her gifts, little one, and, take her out on dates. Just really pouring it on. Not understanding that true love, it comes without pretense. It comes without pretense. But some of you women, you fell for that. And then that moment of truth comes. When they say, I love you. When they stated their case now, but then the moment of truth comes, and they say that I love you. And more often than not, little one, afterwards they find themselves in the valley of oh no with a swollen belly. And the valley of oh no saying, oh no, how'd my belly get to this place? And more often than not, that very man that said I love you, but that he said I love you because he had pretense, he's gone. And you're left alone raising that child all by yourself. Because you were lured to the valley of oh no, not knowing what true love looks like. And in this season, Yahudah, you must understand and know what true love looks like. It doesn't look like the world. But where you find true love, you'll find the cloud, you'll find the anointing, you'll find the presence of Yahuwah, who is love. You'll find his covenant people. You'll find his covenant people. So line by line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. If you're taking notes this day, the title of this message is Searching for the Ancient Path, Part 71. Searching for the Ancient Path, Part 71. Walk as Yahudim. Walk as Yahudim. True Yahudim walk in love. True Yahudim follow the cloud, who is love. And where you find true Yahudim, you'll find true love. you'll find the true love of the master. You'll find it. You'll find his true covenant people. And where you find his true covenant people, you'll find true love. You'll find true love. Love is the way. Love is the way. Love is the cloud. And where you find his true covenant people, you'll find them following the cloud. You'll find them following love. Line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. Love is the way. Love is the way. If you have your scriptures, turn to Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter. Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter. You must connect yourself to true Yahudah. You must engraft into the olive tree via the Ruach HaKodesh, who is the spirit of the Mashiach, who is Yahusha. You engraft into Yahudah, into his covenant people through him, into the olive tree. Yahudah are the natural branches who's never been divorced. Ephraim are those wild branches that Paul talks about in Romans chapter 11. If you want to escape the hour of trial, you must connect to his covenant people, who is Yahudah, and begin to walk yourself as a Yahudym, which is the way of love. Love is the way. Love is the way to Mount Zion. Love is the way back into our land. Dabarim chapter 6. What verses, little one?
1 through 6.
Verses 1 through 6. Deuteronomy, Dabarim chapter 6. Verses 1 through 6. Deuteronomy, Dabarim chapter 6. Verses 1 through 6. Indeed, let's go back to the foundation. Love is the way. Yes, it is. Love is the way to Mount Zion. The cloud is the way of love. He leads us in the way of love. Yahusha leads us in, yes, he does. He leads us in the way of love. Yes, he does. And that love, that cloud will lead us all the way to Mount Zion and back to our land. Where you find true love, you'll find his true covenant people. Beginning at verse 1, Dabarim, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 1 through 6. Beginning at verse 1, read, little one.
And this is the command, the laws and right rulings, which Yahuwah your Elohim has commanded to teach you to do in the land which you are passing over to possess, so that you revere Yahuwah your Elohim, to guard all his laws and his commands, which I command you, you and your son and your grandson, all the days of your life.
All the days of your life, read.
And that your days be prolonged, and you shall hear, O Yasharal.
And you shall hear, O Yasharal. You shall shama. You shall hear. To shama means to what? Means to hear and obey. And you shall hear and obey, Yasharal. Shama, read.
And shall guard to do, that it might be well with you, and that you increase greatly, as Yahuwah Elohim of your fathers has spoken to you.
In other words, so that you may live. So that you may live. So that you may live. You want to live? Because only those who are going to Mount Zion, well, I can't say only those who are going to Mount Zion, because there's going to be some flesh that's going to be left after the great distress, but very little flesh is going to survive. Very little flesh is going to survive. You want to live? Love is the way. Love is obedience to his commandments. Love is the way to Mount Zion. Love is the way of the cloud. Come on, read, little one.
In a land flowing with milk and honey, hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah our Elohim, Yahuwah is one.
Yes.
And you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim.
And you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim, read.
With all your heart.
With all your heart.
And with all your being.
And with all your being.
And with all your might.
And with all your might.
And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart.
And these words that I am commanding you today shall be in your heart. The place from which love proceeds. The heart. The heart. The place from which love proceeds. You shall love your Elohim with all your heart, mind, and strength. And where you find this was spoken to who? To his covenant people. Now, albeit all 12 tribes were together at that time, but at that time, all 12 tribes were his covenant people. This was long before 722 BCE, when Ephraim was divorced and sent amongst the nations and became the completeness of the nations and became every nation, tribe, and tongue. But Yahudah was never divorced. Yahudah remains his covenant people. Where you find his covenant people, you will find those who love Yahuwah with all of their heart, mind, and strength. where you find this authentically, you will find this true covenant people. Indeed, love is the way. Give us another precept, little one.
Leviticus 19:18.
Leviticus 19:18. Uikra, chapter 19, verse 18. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18. Uikra, chapter 19, verse 18. Love is the way. Where you find it, you'll find his true covenant people. Here is another text written to who, little one? To his covenant people. To his covenant people. This is written to his covenant people, in which in this season is the house of Yahudah, as Ephraim is still divorced. If Ephraim comes back, they re-engraft into the olive tree as wild branches. They engraft into the house of Yahudah, of whom the scepter shall not pass from, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shilu comes, who is Yahusha HaMashiach, our sovereign. He comes when the two sticks become one, when the house of Yahudah is rejoined with the house of Ephraim, and the woman becomes one. As of now, as we speak, Yahudah is his covenant people. And where you find true love, you find true Yahudah. You will find his true, authentic, covenant people. Uikra, Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18. Read, little one.
Do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people.
Do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people. Read.
And you shall love your neighbor as yourself.
And you shall love your neighbor as yourself.
I am Yahuwah.
I am Yahuwah. This is a commandment given to his covenant people, to love your neighbor as yourself. Where you find a people loving their neighbors as they love themselves, you find his covenant people who are obeying the words of the covenant. And you will find the presence of Yahuwah, who is love. You will find his true covenant people. You will find true Yahudim. Oh, the master is making it crystal clear, Yahudah. He's making it crystal clear. Where you find his covenant people who love one another as they love themselves, you find true Yahudah. You find true Yahudah. And where you find this, you need to latch on. And you need to walk as they walk. Because if you're walking as they walk, then that means the cloud is leading your way. And this cloud, this manifestation of love in flesh will lead you all the way to Mount Zion and back into our land. Love is the way. Yes. Love is the way. Where you find it, you find its true covenant people. Give us another one, little one.
Leviticus 19:34.
Leviticus 19:34. Leviticus 19:34. Just go down a few verses. Oikra, Leviticus 19:34. Read verse 34, little one.
Let the stranger who dwells among you.
Let the stranger, let the foreigner who dwells among you.
Be to you as the native among you.
Be to you as the native among you. Being no different than you. Because a true Yahudim knows that this is about the restoration of mankind, of Adam, his firstborn son. A true Yahudi understands the bigger picture. A true Yahudi is not all caught up in genealogy. Because a true Yahudi, Barak Yahuwah, is born of water and of Ruach. And he boasts not in his flesh. He is born from above. And he boasts not in his flesh. And he understands that this is about the restoration of all creation, of all mankind. Come on, read that again, little one.
Let the stranger who dwells among you be to you as the native among you.
Be to you no different than you are. Be to you as the native born. Come on, read.
And you shall love him as yourself.
And you shall love him as you love yourself.
For you were strangers in the land of Mitzrayim.
For you were strangers in the land of Mitzrayim.
I am Yahuwah, your Elohim.
I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. A true Yahudi. A true Yahudi loves our men. A true Yahudi welcomes those, irrespective of nation, tribe, or tongue. A true Yahudi welcomes them into the fellowship of Yahuwah Al-Yum. Welcomes them as one of them, as being no different than who they are, as being like Caleb, as being like Caleb, as being like Caleb, who was not native born. No, he wasn't. But what was he, little one? You can't make it up. He was a Yahudim. He was a Yahudim. Caleb was a Yahudim. Caleb was a Yahudim, although he wasn't native born. He was an Edomite. He was an Adumim. Yes, he was. But he had engrafted into the house of Yahudah, and he was a Yahudim. He was no different than the native born. No different than the native born, a true Yahudim. His covenant people recognizes this and realizes this. Where you come into the true house of Yahudah, his true covenant people, we welcome all who love the master, who love the master and who are willing to walk as Yahudim, who are willing to walk in love, who are willing to walk in the commandments of Yahuwah. We welcome them because we know that this is about the restoration of all mankind, that this is about the restoration of Adam, his true firstborn son, of whom the house of Yahshua is merely a representation of. Through Yahshua, his firstborn, he desires to reconcile all of the rest of the firstborn of the seed of Adam back to everlasting covenant with him, because he gave his Torah to Yahshua. And in the words of the Mashiach, he says to you, Yahudah, now, you are the light of the world. You are to take this Torah to the world. You are the living Torah, Yahudah. You are to take this Torah, this light to the world, to reconcile the rest of our master's creation back to himself. Where you find true love, you find true Yahudah. You find his covenant people. This is very important. If you desire to escape the hour of trial, and least you end up in the valley of oh no, saying, oh no, how did I end up here? Give us another precept, little one.
Luke 10:25-37.
Lucas, let's go to the Bashora, the Bashora, the good news. The Bayit Kadashah. Lucas, chapter 10, indeed, love is the way. Love is the way of the cloud. Love is the way of his covenant people. Love is the way of his covenant people. Lucas, chapter 10. Luke, chapter 10. Line upon line, precept upon precept. Love is the way of the cloud. The cloud, true love, wrapped himself up in flesh, and love led the way, all the way to death on the stake. Love led the way to show his people that love indeed is the way. Love is Torah. Yes, it is. Love is Torah. Love is servitude. Love is compassion. Love is the way. Love is Torah. Love is Torah. Love is the way. Love is the way. Lucas chapter 10. Lucas chapter 10. And not everybody, indeed, again, not everybody that says they love you, Yahudah, loves you. Not everyone who says that they love you. You'll know if you have the discernment of a snail. If you have the discernment of a snail, you'll understand what true love is. Even animals respond to true love. Even they know what true love looks like. You must use discernment in the season to understand what true love is. Lest you be caught and led astray to the valley of oh no, saying oh no. How did I end up here in the valley of oh no during the time of the hour of the great distress? You must understand what true love is. And you'll find true love. You'll find true love in his true covenant people. And where his true covenant is, his true covenant people are, you'll find the people wrapped up in love. Lucas chapter 10. Lucas chapter 10. What verses, little one?
25-37.
Verses 25-37. Verses 25-37. Hear, O Yahshua. Hear, O Yahshua. You shall love your Elohim with all your heart, mind, and strength. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Leviticus 19. What verse was that, little one?
19:34.
You shall love your neighbor as yourself, and you shall love the stranger as yourself. These commands given to his covenant people. This is the way of life. This is the way of love. This is the way to Mount Zion. Beginning at verse 25. Read now, little one.
And see, a certain one learned in the Torah.
And see, a certain one learned in the Torah. Read, learned in the Torah. Learned in the Torah. He understood the commandment to his covenant people. Read.
Stood up, trying him and saying, Teacher, what shall I do to inherit everlasting life?
Hear him, listen. What shall I do to live? What shall I do to live? What shall I do to get to Mount Zion? What shall I do to get to Mount Zion? You must operate as his covenant people, because he's only coming to get his covenant people, Yahudah, who are operating, truly operating as his covenant people. What shall I do to inherit everlasting life? What shall I do to live? Read.
And he said to him, what has been written in the Torah?
What has been written in the Torah? Read.
How do you read it?
How do you read it? Read.
And he answering said, You shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart.
You shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart.
And with all your being.
And with all your being, with all your mind. Read.
And with all your strength.
And with all your strength. Read.
And with all your mind.
And with all your mind. Read.
And your neighbor as yourself.
And your neighbor as yourself. Leviticus ain't nothing new under the sun. He taught Torah. And your neighbor as yourself. Come on.
And he said to him, You have answered rightly. Do this and you shall live.
Do this and you shall what?
You shall live.
Do this, Yahudah, and you shall live. Do this, and in this season, you'll escape the hour of trial. You'll follow the cloud, which is love, and will be found to be on Mount Zion, giving a song that no one else can sing. Do this, Yahudah, and you shall live. Read, little one.
But he wishing to declare himself righteous.
But he wishing to declare himself righteous.
Said to Yahusha. And who is my neighbor?
And who is my neighbor?
And replying, Yahusha said, A certain man was going down from Jerusalem to Yericho and fell among robbers.
Fell among robbers,
Who both stripping and beating him went away, leaving him half dead.
Leaving him half dead. They beat him and stripped him and left him half dead. Stripped him naked, bludgeoned him and blooded him and left him half dead and took everything that he owned. Come on, read.
And by a coincidence,
yes, a
certain priest was going down that way.
Oh, by coincidence. I told you, everybody who said that the Yahudah ain't Yahudim. Priests of the land of Yahudah. Yes, they are, because he will not leave from between the feet of a lawgiver. From between the feet of Yahudah. Priests are attached to Yahudim. Priests are attached to Yahudah, a certain priest. One learned in the Torah. I told you. At least you end up in the valley of oh no, saying, oh no, how did I end up here? Not everybody who say that they're Yahudim are Yahudim. How are you going to say you as covenant people and see your brother down, beaten down, needing to be built up, needing attending to, and pass by the other side of the road? You're not a Yahudi. You're Ephraim. You are Ephraim. In the land of Ephraim, they used to do these kinds of things. Yes, they did. They used to do these very things. They used to do these very things. You're not a Yahudi if you're doing these things. You are Ephraim. Just because you say you're a Yahudi doesn't mean that you are indeed a Yahudi. Come on, read.
And when he saw him, he passed by on the other side.
A priest, a so-called priest, one learned in the Torah, not understanding that the Torah is love, the Torah is compassion, full of knowledge, full of the knowledge of righteousness, but far from the fruit of righteousness. Far from the fruit of righteousness. Love is the way of the Yahudim. Love is the way of the Yahudim. This is not a Yahudim. This is not his covenant people. Come on, read.
And likewise a Levite also.
One also learned in the Torah. One also very learned in the Torah. Full of the knowledge of Torah. Full of the knowledge of righteousness. But void of the fruit of righteousness. Come on, read.
And seeing pass by on the other side. But a certain Shamaruni journeying came upon him. Listen,
a foreigner, a stranger, a foreigner passing by. And this is what a true Yahudi understands. A true Yahudi understands that even a foreigner is your neighbor if he does the desires of the Father. A true Yahudi understands this. that even a stranger, foreigner, if he does the desires of the Father, he is my neighbor. He is as the native born. Come on, read.
And when he saw him, he had compassion on him.
He had compassion on him. Read.
And he went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. And having placed him on his own beast, he brought him to an inn and looked after him. And going out on the next day, he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said to him, look after him, and whatever more you spend, I shall repay you when I return. Who then of these 3 do you think was neighbor to him who fell among the robbers? And he said, he who showed compassion on him.
He who showed compassion on him. Read.
Then Yahushua said to him, go and do likewise.
Go and do likewise. Love is the way. Love is the way to both the stranger and the native born. Love is the way of his true covenant people. And love will manifest itself in compassion. True compassion. With no pretense. With no pretense attached. With not trying to snake its way in through these kinds of acts. But having no pretense. Having no pretense at all. True love will manifest in acts of compassion. True compassion. And where you find compassion, you will find his true covenant people. As the Master Yahushua, who was a Yahudi man, was often moved to compassion. Often moved to compassion. Love manifesting in the act of compassion. Showing us the way. The cloud manifesting himself in flesh. Love manifesting himself in flesh to lead his people in the way of love. To lead his covenant people in the way of the true covenant. The covenant of love. To lead his people to life. He says, what shall I do to live? You shall love your father with all your heart, mind, being, and strength. And your neighbor as yourself. So what does this look like, Master? What does this look like? It looks like the manifestation of compassion. Compassion. You do this, as he says, I desire compassion and not offering. If you do this, Yahudah, you are showing yourself to be his true covenant people. And you will live. And you will live. And you will escape the hour of trial. But more importantly, in this building block, here is a separation. For those of you who are of the nations, this is a separation of how to identify his true covenant people. Where you find true love and compassion, you will find his true covenant people. You will find the cloud. Latch on and do as they do, as they follow the cloud. And you too will be led all the way to Mount Zion in this season. Love is the way. Love is the way. Give us a new precept, little one.
John 13, starting at 1 until you tell me to stop.
Yahudim chapter 13. John chapter 13. Yahudim chapter 13. John chapter 13. Love is the way. Where you find it, you'll find his covenant people. And it is his covenant people who are to escape the hour of trial in this season. Where you find true love and compassion, you'll find his true covenant people. You'll find Yahudah. You'll find Yahudah. And you'll find the Kahanah. You'll find the true priesthood. And you'll find the Kabul, the presence of Yahuwah. You'll find his Ruach HaKadosh. Because Yahuwah is love. Yahuwah is love. Yahuwah does not love. Yahuwah is love. It is who he is. It is who he is. He is love. And where you find him, you'll find his covenant people, and you'll find love. And you'll find true compassion. John chapter 13, Yahudim chapter 13. We're not going to read it in its entirety. I'm just going to have little one read until I tell her to stop. John, Yahudim chapter 13, beginning at verse 1. Come on, read, little one.
And before the festival of Pesach, Yahushua, knowing that his hour had come, that he should move out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own who were in the world. Having loved his own who were in the world, because Yahuwah is love. Read. He loved them to the end.
He loved them to the end. Now he's getting ready. He's already demonstrating love, and he's already demonstrated that love to us. He's already demonstrated that great love to us, and that when we were yet criminals, when we were yet sinners, he died for us. Love is the way. Love is the way. This is the way that he demonstrated. This is the very way that the cloud demonstrated, and we must follow this very same cloud, covenant people, Yahudah, all the way to Mount Zion. Come on, read, little one.
And supper taking place, the devil having already put it into the heart of Yahudah from Karauf, son of Shamma'un, to deliver him up. Yahusha, knowing that the Father had given all into his hands, and that he had come from Elohim and was going to Elohim, rose from supper and laid aside his garments.
See, even this is love, little one. Even this is love. Love will motivate you to do what he's getting ready to do. Love will motivate you to, yes, to love your neighbor as yourself and to serve him. And to serve him. True love will motivate you to do this. Where you find his covenant people, you'll find his servants. You'll find his servants, because true love manifests in servitude. If you love somebody, you'll serve them. You will serve them. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Where you find his true covenant people, you will find his servants. And you will find those who love one another as they love themselves. As they love themselves. You will find in their midst Yahuwah, who empowers them via his Ruach to love this way. To truly love this way. He's demonstrating love here. Because to love somebody means to serve them. He's demonstrating love. And where you find this once more, you'll find his true covenant people. Come on, read little one.
And having taken a towel, he girded himself. After that, he put water into a basin and began to wash the feet of the taught ones.
This is Yahuwah wrapped up in flesh. This is Yahuwah wrapped up in flesh. This is the cloud manifesting in flesh, showing us the way, leading the way. This is love becoming flesh. This is love becoming flesh. Love is the way, Yahudah. Love is the way. This is Yahuwah in flesh, manifesting in flesh. The cloud manifesting in flesh, showing his taught ones the way. You love one another, serve one another. To love one another is to serve one another. And where you find this, you will find his true covenant people. You will find true Yahudah. Come on, read little one.
And to wipe them with the towel with which he was girded. And so he came to Shamma'un Kapha and said to him, Master, do you wash my feet? Yahusha answered and said to him, You do not know what I am doing now, but you shall know after this. Kapha said to him, By no means shall you wash my feet ever. Yahusha answered him, If I do not wash you, you have no part with me. Shamma'un Kapha said to him, Master, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Yahusha said to him, He who has had a bath does not need to wash, except his feet, but is clean altogether. And you are clean, but not all of you.
But not all of you. You are clean, but not all of you. Now he's speaking of Judas here, Yahudah. But listen to what love will cause you to do. He even washed the feet of Judas. He even washed the feet of Yahudah, knowing that he was a devil. He even washed his feet. We're going to talk about this more in a minute. But he even washed the feet of Yahudah, of Judas, knowing that he was a devil. He said, but you are clean, but not all of you. Not all of you. Where you find true Yahudah, his true covenant people, you'll find this kind of love. You'll find this kind of love. Come on, read, little one.
For he knew who would deliver him up, so he said, You are not all clean.
You are not all clean. He knew who was going to deliver him up, yet he still washed his feet. Come on, read.
So when he had washed their feet and taken his garments and sat down again, he said to them, Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and master, and you say, Well, for I am. Then if I, master and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet.
You also ought to wash one another's feet. This is the cloud manifested in flesh to show us the way, so that we follow him, so that we follow the way of love. If you call me master, you do well. But if I, master, have washed your feet, follow the cloud. Follow this way of love. Serve one another. To love one another is to serve one another. You too are to wash one another's feet. Love is the way. Love is the way. And where you find true love, you will find true Yahudah. You will find his true covenant people. Read, little one.
For I gave you an example that you should do as I have done to you.
That you should do as I've done for you. He's the cloud. He's the cloud. We're to follow the cloud. We're to follow his example. The cloud manifested himself in flesh to lead his people in the way, to bring his people back to covenant, as he was given for a covenant for the people, to lead his people back to covenant and show his people the way of covenant, which is the way of love, in which if we walk in it, if we follow the cloud, he will lead us to Mount Zion. We will live. We will live. Come on, read.
Truly, truly, I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is any emissary greater than he who sent him. If you know these teachings, blessed are you if you do them. I do not speak concerning all of you.
I do not speak concerning all of you. Indeed, he washed Judas's feet. He washed Yahudah's feet. Knowing that he was a devil, he still even washed his feet. Oh, what great love the master has for us. He even washed the feet of Yahudah. Come on, read, little one.
I know whom I have chosen, but that the scripture might be filled, he who eats bread with me has lifted up his heel against me. Now I say to you before it takes place, that when it does take place, you shall believe that I am. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who receives whomever I send receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me.
In other words, Yahudah, here's another nugget that the master has given us. Here's another nugget. I'm going to have you skip down to verse 35, little one. Okay. Here's another nugget that the master has given to us, to his covenant people. He who loves us, loves him. He who loves us, loves him. And if they truly love him, then they are in covenant with him. Yahudah, don't throw this away. Don't throw this away. He who loves you, truly loves you, loves him. He who truly loves his covenant people, loves him. And they too are his covenant people. See, he's narrowing this thing down. He's narrowing this thing down. And again, true love comes without pretense. And don't end up with the swollen belly, being led out to the valley of Ono. Don't fall for the okie-doke. True love comes without pretense. Use some discernment. But he who loves us, Yahudah, loves him. He's shown us a way to even narrow this thing down even narrower, so that we are not led to the valley of Ono. He who loves us loves him. Come on, John 13, give us verse 35, little one.
By this shall all know that you are my taught ones.
By this shall all know that you are my taught ones.
If you have love for one another.
If you have love for one another. He who loves us, Yahudah, loves him. And they are his taught ones. And they are his covenant people. They are his covenant people. He's narrowed this down. You don't have to guess no more, Yahudah. You don't have to guess as to who is true Yahudah. He who loves you, if you are his covenant people, he who loves you loves him. Because by this we know that we are his taught ones, by our love one for another. Love is the way. Love is the way. Love is the way of life. Love is the way to Mount Zion in this season. Love is the way. We must follow the cloud, and we must walk as he walked. He walked the way of love. He walked the way of compassion. We must walk as he walked. This is the way. Love is the way. It is the way to Mount Zion. It is the way of his covenant people. It is the way of the Yahudim. Come on, give us another precept, little one.
Matthew 5:43 to 48.
Matthew 5:43 to 48. Matthew 5, Yahudah chapter 5, verses 43 to 48, previously said that he washed the feet of Yahudah. He previously washed the feet of Yahudah. Listen here to what he says. Listen here to what he says. Matthew chapter 5, verses 43 to 48. Yahudah chapter 5, verses 43 to 48. Beginning at verse 43. Read, little one.
You heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy.
You heard what it was said, that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. This is not written. It was said, not written. Read.
But I say to you, love your enemies.
But I say to you, love your enemy. Love your enemy. Judas didn't know that he was found out. Judas was a devil. Yahudah was a devil. He didn't know he was found out. Yahusha never directly confronted him. He never directly confronted him, knowing that he was a devil. Knowing that he was a devil, and showed him the same love that he showed the rest of the taught ones. And Yahudah suspected nothing. He suspected not a thing. Love, come on, read.
Bless those cursing you.
Love your enemies and bless those who are cursing you. Read.
Do good to those hating you.
Do good to those hating you. Who is he speaking to, little one? He's speaking to Yahudym. He's speaking to his covenant people. This is the way of the Yahudym. See, this ain't an easy way. This is not that broad way. This is that narrow, very narrow path that if we follow it, if we follow the cloud, the way of love, that will lead us to Mount Zion. Yes, it will. Yes, he will. Come on, read.
And pray for those insulting you.
Pray for those insulting you.
And persecuting you.
And persecuting you.
So that you become sons of your Father in the heavens.
So that you become sons of your Father in the heaven. Only the sons of Elohim are going to Mount Zion. Only those who are sealed with the seal of the living Elohim. Yahuwah is not flesh and blood. He is Ruach. And if you're sealed with his Ruach, then that means you've been reborn of him. You've been born of his loins. And so now you are a son of Elohim. You are truly a son of Elohim, and you are his covenant people. You are Yahudah. Now walk as Yahudah. Listen to his instructions. Walk as a Yahudym. Come on, read.
Because he makes his sun rise on the wicked and on the good.
Yes.
And sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. For if you love those loving you.
For if you only love those loving you, read.
What reward have you?
What reward have you?
Are the tax collectors not doing the same too?
Are not the tax collectors, are not the publicans, is not Ephraim doing the same thing? Come on, read.
And if you greet your brothers only.
And if you greet your brothers only.
What do you do more than others?
What do you do more than others? Read.
Are the tax collectors not doing so too?
Are not tax collectors doing so also? Come on, read.
Therefore be perfect.
Therefore be perfect.
As your Father in the heaven is perfect.
As your Father in the heavens is perfect. Do you not understand, Yahudah, that only the perfect in the way of going to Mount Zion? Because those in accordance with Revelation chapter 14, they are blameless before the throne. They are blameless before the throne. They're perfect. They are perfect. This is the way of the Yahudym. Love is the way. This is the way of the Yahudym. He demonstrated this even in his treatment towards Yahudah, otherwise known as Judas. He demonstrated this. Love is the way. Oh, you say, man, boy, that ain't easy. Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. It's very hard. That road is very narrow. That road to Mount Zion is very narrow. It's very thin. It's razor thin. It's razor thin. And in that razor thin road, love is the way. That's the way of his covenant people. That's the way of the Yahudym. That's the way of those who are following the cloud, who showed us that love is the way. If you follow him, you cannot follow Yahusha and look like Yahusha without making love the way. Love is the way. I'm not talking about some Christian love, because love is to serve one another. To serve one another is to obey Torah. It is to obey a Torah with no pretense. With no pretense. Having your heart being made circumcised and having the word written upon that heart. And having the shame of Egypt removed from you. Having your shame, your nakedness removed and being clothed via circumcised heart. I'm not talking about the Christian way. That ain't the way of love. That's not the way of love. Torah is the way of love. And the living Torah, the living word, manifested himself in flesh to show us that love is the way. To show us how to walk in Torah. To show us how to walk in love. Where you find true love, where you find true obedience to Torah, you will find his covenant people. You will find Yahudah. You will find Yahudah. Come on, read, little one.
1 Corinthians 12:31.
1 Corinthians, come on, keep up. Keep up, wake up. Wake up. Quit eating on the job. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. I should have said quit sleeping on the job. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. We're only going to read about one verse. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. I'm not going to sound like a Christian pastor and say, when you have found it, say amen. I'm not going to do that. We're going to give you a couple of seconds to find 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Barak Yahuwah. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. And we're going to go down to the very last verse. The very last verse of 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Reading the very last verse of 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Read, little one.
But earnestly seek the better gifts.
But earnestly seek the better gifts. That 1 Corinthians chapter 12 talks about the spiritual gifts. And he says here, but earnestly seek the better gifts. But read.
And yet I show you a more excellent way.
And yet I show you a more excellent way. Love is the way. Yes, it is. Flip the chapter to chapter 13. Love is the way. But yet I show you a more excellent way. Love is the way. It is the way of the Yahudim. Paul, Shaul, was a Yahudim of the tribe of Benjamin, circumcised on the 8th day, a Hebrew of Hebrews. Yes, he was. He was a Yahudim. And he understood that love is the way of the Yahudim. Yes, he did after his conversion. He understood that love is the true way of the Yahudim. It is the true way of his covenant people. And where you find it, you'll find his covenant people. And yet I show you a more excellent way, which will lead you to Mount Zion. Chapter 13. Chapter 13, beginning at verse 1. Come on, read, little one.
If I speak with the tongues of men
If I speak with the tongues of men and of messengers, and there are many who are doing that in this season. Read.
But do not have love.
But do not have love.
I have become as sounding brass.
I have become like sounding brass.
Or a clinging cymbal.
Or a clinging cymbal. And there are many in this season who are like this. They speak eloquently. They speak very well. And they're full of the knowledge of the Torah. They're full of the knowledge of books. But they have not love. Don't get it twisted. Don't be deceived. Don't be deceived. Use discernment. Use discernment. The master will show you what true love looks like. He's shown you. And one clue is that that person will love you as they love themselves. They will serve you. Because true love manifests itself in servitude. You love somebody, you'll serve them. You'll truly serve them. And you love them as you love yourself. You won't no harm to come to them. As you won't no harm to come to yourself, you won't no harm to come to them. You are concerned about them. You're concerned about how they feel. You're concerned about how they're thinking. You're genuinely concerned about them. Love has no pretense. True love has no pretense. And where you find it, you'll find its true covenant people. Come on, read.
And if I have prophecy and know all secrets and all knowledge, and if I have all belief so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am none at all.
I am none at all. Look around, Yahudah. The social media, Facebook, YouTube is full of people who as soon as they receive some deep revelation of knowledge, as soon as they receive some deep revelation, they want to proclaim it. They want to contact you and tell you without even asking how you're doing today. how you feeling. They want to reveal this knowledge to you because they have not love. They're more interested in showing you what Abba showed me rather than simply asking how you doing, how you feeling, do you need anything today? They're more concerned with giving you this revelation of knowledge so that they can have a platform, so that they can feed their low self-esteem. They're more concerned with that. Don't be sleep, Yahudah. Recognize what true love looks like. Social media has no shortage of these kinds of people who can't wait to share this deep revelation that they found. But they don't have the love of a snail. They don't have the love and concern of a snail, of a common housefly. They're more concerned about themselves and how you're going to receive this deep revelation that came from them. It didn't come from the master. It came from them because they're looking to self-exalt themselves through this so-called knowledge. It means nothing without love. Love is the way of the Yahudim. And where you find true love, you'll find this covenant people. Latch on to them and walk as they walk, because this way will lead you to Mount Zion. Come on, read, little one.
And if I give out all my possessions to feed the poor.
And if I give out everything that I have to feed the poor. They even do this, even giving away of gifts and giving away all they have in order to present an appearance of love, in order to connect themselves to you, to present an appearance of love, to deceive you, to draw you into the land of the valley of oh no. At least you've been saying, oh no, how did I end up here? It comes with pretense. Recognize when it comes with pretense. At least you end up in the valley of oh no, saying, oh no, how did I end up here? Where you find true love, and true love has no pretense. You'll find this true covenant people. And where you find this true covenant people, you'll find the cloud. You'll find the kabod of Yahudah. And he will lead us to Mount Zion, walking this way of love. Come on, read.
And if I give my body to be burned.
And if I give my body to be burned.
But do not have love.
But do not have love. You're just a roasted marshmallow. You're just a roasted marshmallow. You just took part of a voluntary barbecue of yourself. Without love, it means nothing. It's all for pretense. All for pretense. All to leave behind a name. Oh, he sure died well. Oh, he had a good death. He sure died well. He didn't yell, scream much at all. He died well. He had a good death. So that you leave a name behind. Only to go down to a place where you're going to be burned more. Only to go to further torment, to be burned more. Because without love, that's where you're going. Because Yahuwah is love, and without love, you're separated from him. You're separate from him. Yes, you are. Without true love, you're separate from him. But with love, you are part of him. Because to be his covenant people, you are part of him. He and you and him. And as he is love, you are love. And if you walk this way of love, it'll lead you to Mount Zion. Come on, read.
I am not profited at all.
You ain't profited at all. You just died well. Come on.
Love is patient.
Love is patient.
It's kind.
It's kind.
Love does not envy.
Love does not envy.
Love does not boast.
Love does not boast. Look what Abba showed me. Love does not boast. Read.
Is not puffed up.
It's not puffed up.
Does not behave indecently.
Love does not behave indecently.
Does not seek its own.
Does not seek its own. It's selfless. It don't seek its own. It has no pretense. True love has no pretense. And where you find no pretense, you'll find this true covenant people. You'll find Yahudah. Latch on. And let's go to Mount Zion. Come on, read.
Is not provoked.
Is not provoked.
Reckons not the evil.
Reckons not the evil.
Does not rejoice over the unrighteous.
Does not rejoice over the unrighteous.
But rejoices in the truth.
But rejoices in the truth.
It covers all.
It covers all.
Believes all.
Believes all.
Expects all.
Expects all.
Endures all.
Endures all.
Love never fails.
Love never fails, and it will lead us to Mount Zion. It is the way. It is the more excellent way, of which Shaul talks about in the last verse of chapter 12. It is the more excellent way in which will lead us to Mount Zion. Come on, read.
And whether there be prophecies.
Whether there be prophecies.
They shall be inactive.
They shall be inactive.
Or tongues.
Tongues.
They shall cease.
They shall cease.
Or knowledge.
Knowledge.
It shall be inactive.
It shall be inactive.
For we know in part.
For we know in part.
And we prophesy in part.
We know nothing. Whatever we know in part. Come on, read, and we prophesy in part. Read.
But when that which is perfect has come.
But when that which is perfect has come, and love is perfect. Love is perfect. When perfect love comes, when perfect love manifests, and we see perfect love face to face, because we are made perfect just like him, because as he is, we're going to be. When we see him, we're going to see him as he is, because we're going to be like him. But when perfect love comes, come on, read.
Then that which is in part shall be inactive.
Then that which is in part shall be inactive. See, there's still things to come in the millennial reign. There are still things that are going to come, and we're still not going to know all in the millennial reign. Even in the presence of the Mashiach, we're not going to know all. Come on, read.
When I was a child, I spoke as a child.
When I was a child, I spoke as a child. Listen, Yahudah. Listen. Love is for grown folk. Love is for Yahudah. Love is for his covenant people. Because it takes someone mature and grown as a Yahudym to walk the way of love. It's not easy. It's not easy. You're going to be humiliated. Yes, you are. You're going to be humiliated walking the way of love. If our master Yahushua walking the way of love was humiliated, what makes you think that you're not going to be humiliated walking the way of love? You're going to be humiliated walking the way of love, because it's going to cause you to humble yourself. Love will cause you to humble yourself. Yes, it will. So love is for grown folk. Love is for his covenant people. Love is for Yahudim. Now, Yahudah is supposed to be the elder son. It's supposed to be the elder daughter. And so to walk as the elder son or the elder daughter, love is the way. Love is the way of his covenant people. This is the more excellent way that will lead us to Mount Zion. Come on, read.
I thought as a child. I reasoned as a child.
See, Ephraim is that child. Ephraim is that child. Ephraim doesn't walk in love. Ephraim is a part of the nations. The nations don't walk in love. Ephraim does not walk in love. He thinks that he's walking in the way of the master, but he's not. He's not. He's walking in the way of his flesh. To walk in the flesh is to walk as a child. To walk in Ruach is to walk in as an adult. To walk in Ruach is to walk in love. It is to walk as his covenant people. Yahudah is his covenant people. Ephraim is the child. He doesn't walk this way. This way ain't easy. Ephraim is walking that broad way. That broad way that leads to destruction. Don't end up in the valley of oh no. Don't attach yourselves to the wrong folk, and don't you walk as Ephraim. Walk as the Yahudim, walk in the way of love. This is the way of his covenant people. And this will lead us to Mount Zion. Come on, read, little one.
But when I became a man, I did away with childish matters.
I did away with childish matters. Yahudim, we are men. We are women. We have to do away with the ways of the flesh, Yahudah. We got to do away with the way of the flesh. There is no love in the flesh. There is no love in the flesh. To truly love is to walk in Ruach. We can't love unless we're walking in Ruach. And to walk in Ruach means that we've received the seal of the living Elohim, which means that we are his covenant people. Which means that we are his covenant people. We've got to put away the childish matters. We've got to put away the ways of the flesh and walk as his covenant people, as true Yahudim, in the way of love. Come on, read.
For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know, as I also have been known. And now belief, expectation, and love remain.
But what?
These three. But the greatest of these is love.
But the greatest of these is love. Love is the way. Love is the way to Mount Zion. This way of the cloud of his covenant people will get us in this season to Mount Zion. When we know all, when we see him face to face, as Paul just declared here, and that is after the millennial reign. When we see him in his true form, only then will we know all, because we're going to be like him. And everything that he knows then, we will know. There'll be nothing hidden from us. Everything our master knows, we will know, because we will rule with him and we will be like him. But until then, we know nothing. We know nothing, but we do know this, that love is the way, little one. Love is the way. And that in itself ain't simple. It's not a simple walk. The way of the cloud, or following the cloud, is not a simple walk. No, it's the razor thin walk that if we do so, we will be counted as his covenant people, as Yahudim, and it will lead us to Mount Zion. Come on, give us another precept, little one.
1 John 4:1-8.
1 John, line upon line, precept upon precept. Here a little, there a little. Love indeed is the way. Love is the way of his covenant people. Love is the way of the cloud. Love is the way that will lead us to Mount Zion. Love is the way of determining who is his covenant people and who are not. Where you find true love, where you find true compassion, you will find his true covenant people. You will find true Yahudah. 1 John chapter 4, Yahudah Alive, chapter 4, verses 1 through what, little one?
1-8.
Verses 1 through 8. 1 John chapter 4, verses 1 through 8. Yahudah chapter 4, verses 1 through 8. Most lack love, Yahudah. Most in this season lack love. Where you find true love, you find this true covenant people, because you will find the presence of Yahuwah in their midst. Where you find the presence of Yahuwah, who always dwells in the midst of his covenant people, you will find love, because Yahuwah is love. He is love. Most lack love in this season. Most pretend to love, but they don't truly love. They don't truly love. The love that the Mashiach displayed, that's not easy. That's not easy. But we must walk in that love if we expect to make it to Mount Zion. We must walk in the same selfless way. The same selfless way of the Mashiach, Yahushua HaMashiach, if we expect to make it to Mount Zion in this season, Yahudah. We must follow the cloud. 1 John, Yahudah Alive, chapter 4, verses 1 through 8, beginning at verse 1. Come on, read.
Beloved ones, do not believe every spirit.
Beloved ones, do not believe every Ruach, read.
But prove the spirits.
But prove the Ruachs, read.
Whether they are of Elohim.
Whether they are of Elohim, read.
Because many false prophets have gone out into the world.
Because many false prophets, many false Nabi'im have gone into the world, read.
By this you know the Ruach of Elohim.
By this you know the Ruach of Elohim, read.
Every Ruach that confesses that Yahushua Mashiach has come in the flesh.
Listen here, Yahudah. It's not enough to say that Yahushua Mashiach has come in the flesh. You must have the complete understanding, as the scriptures declare, that Yahuwah himself wrapped himself up in flesh and came. It's not enough to say that Yahushua came in flesh. You diminish him. You diminish the work of the Father. When you diminish it, when you separate Yahushua from Yahuwah, you diminish what the Father himself has did for you. You diminish his work when you try to separate them. When one refuses to accept that Yahuwah himself wrapped himself up in flesh and came in the person of Yahushua Mashiach, he has denied that the Mashiach has come. He has denied that Yahuwah himself has come. So it's not enough to declare that Yahushua has came in flesh. It's not enough, because you diminish the work of the Father. You diminish what he has done. Come on, read, little one.
Is of Elohim. And every Ruach that does not confess that Yahushua Mashiach has come in the flesh is not of Elohim.
It's not of Elohim. It's not of Elohim. Hear him. Hear him, please. If you are a Yahudi and you are a part of his covenant people, and which means that he speaks to you, that he speaks to you, you have the understanding that our master is not bipolar. He doesn't speak to us in two different voices. You hear one voice. You hear the voice of one. If you truly know him and he truly speaks to you, you hear one voice. So for those who say that Yahushua is not Yahuwah, they don't know him. They haven't heard him. They have not heard him. Because if they have heard him, they will know that he speaks as one. As one. That Yahuwah speaks to us. That Yahuwah speaks. Yahuwah and Yahuwah alone speaks. One voice. One voice. Yahuwah is one. He is Akkad. He is one. And one voice speaks. If you are his and he truly speaks to you. This is not a question. It's not a question. You know that our Father speaks. And you know that he came and wrapped himself up in flesh and died for you. So that you do not diminish the work that he did. And that draws you closer to him. Indeed, if he be lifted up, he'll draw men unto him. He draws you closer to him when you understand what the Father did. That draws you closer to him. That reveals more of his love for us. Understanding what the Father himself did. If you truly know him, if you're truly in covenant with him, there's one voice that speaks to you. He ain't bipolar. There's one voice that speaks. So everyone that says that they're not the same, they ain't heard him. They have not heard him, and they don't know him. Come on, read.
And this is the Ruach of anti-Mashiach, which you heard is coming, and now is already in the world. You are of Elohim, little children.
You are of Elohim, little children. Come on.
And have overcome them.
And have overcome them. Read.
Because he who is in you.
Because he who is in you.
Is greater than he who is in the world.
Is greater than he who is in the world. Read.
They are of the world. Therefore they speak as of the world.
Therefore they speak as the world. They speak as the world. They don't like the pure, unadulterated truth. They don't like it. The pure, unadulterated truth is too boring for them. It's not deep enough for them. The pure, unadulterated truth is only for the pure in heart. It's only for the pure in heart. This pure, unadulterated truth is only for a remnant within a remnant. It's only for those who have tender ears and tender hearts and tender eyes. It's not for everyone. To the majority of people, to the nations, it's too boring. It's too boring. We don't speak as the world. We speak the pure, unadulterated truth. And it's too boring for them. Come on, read.
And the world hears them.
And the world hears them. Read.
We are of Elohim.
We of Elohim. Read.
The one knowing Elohim hears us.
The one knowing Elohim hears his voice. Read.
He who is not of Elohim does not hear us.
He who is not of Elohim does not hear us. Read.
By this we know the Ruach of the truth and the Ruach of the delusion.
By this we know the Ruach of truth and the Ruach of the delusion. Read.
Beloved ones, let us love one another.
Come on. Love, beloved one, let us love one another. Read.
Because love is of Elohim.
Because love is of Elohim. It is the way. Read.
And everyone who loves has been born of Elohim.
Everyone who loves has the seal of the living Elohim, has been sealed for such a time as this to be delivered from the hour of trial. Everyone who loves has been born of Elohim and has received the seal of the living Elohim. Love is the way. Come on, read.
And knows Elohim.
And knows Elohim. Read.
The one who does not love does not know Elohim.
The one who does not love does not know Elohim. He is Ephraim. He is Ephraim. He is not Yahudah. Read.
For Elohim is love.
For Elohim is love. And where you find this covenant people, you'll find true love. Because you'll find the kabod, the presence of Yahudah, the Ruach HaKadosh, Yahushua HaMashiach. You'll find love because Yahuwah is love. Yahuwah is love. Where you find them, you'll find love, and you find this true covenant people. Come on, give us another precept, little one.
1 John 5, 1 through 3.
1 John 5, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. We don't have much further to go. Love is the way. Building another building block here for his children to establish our way, in truth, so that we are then kept from the hour of trial, so that we are sure that we are amongst his covenant people, so that we do not connect ourselves with those who are not his covenant people, lest we be led to the valley of oh no, saying, oh no, I should have listened to the words of the master as they were being proclaimed. 1 John chapter 5, verses 1 through 3, beginning at verse 1. Come on, read.
Everyone who believes that Yahusha is the Mashiach,
yes,
has been born of Elohim. And everyone who loves the one bringing forth,
read.
Also loves the one having been born of him.
Also loves the one who has been born of him. Read.
By this we know that we love the children of Elohim.
By this we know we love the children of Elohim. Read.
When we love Elohim and guard his commands.
When we love Elohim and when we guard his commands. To guard his commands, once more, is to submit. It is to serve. To love someone is to serve them. To love Yahuwah is to serve them. To serve them. To truly, authentically serve them. Someone who does not authentically love or authentically serve, they won't be able to hide very long. Because sooner or later their heart is going to find them out. Because out of the abundance of the heart, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Their hearts will find them out. They cannot hide for long. Keep your eyes open and your ears attentive to their voice. Because they cannot hide for long. They cannot hide for long. To love someone means to serve them. To love Yahuwah means to serve him. To serve him means to obey his commands. Where you find servants, where you find service, where you find true, authentic service, you will find his true covenant people. Because in true, authentic service, you'll find love. You will find obedience to his commandments. You will find his covenant people. You will find his kabod, his presence. You will find his Ruach HaKadosh. You will find Yahuwah, because Yahuwah is love. Yahuwah is love. Give us another precept, little one.
It's a little.
Give us a little more, Barak Yahuwah.
For this is the love for Elohim, that we guard his commands, and his commands are not heavy.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master. Give us another precept, little one. Where you find true servants, you'll find true love, and you'll find this true covenant people serving one another, serving Yahuwah in love, obeying his commandments, walking in the way of love, with the master being in our midst, going with us wherever we go, his presence being in our midst, the cloud being in our midst, because he is love, and he is the one who is leading us in the way of love, leading us back to Mount Zion. John chapter 14, verse 15. John chapter 14, verse 15. Line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. Love is the way. Love is the way of the cloud. We must follow the cloud, because he will lead us in the way of love all the way to Mount Zion. John Yahudim chapter 14, verse 15. And this is a precept of what we just read. Because we now understand, Yahudah understands who Yahusha is. He is Yahuwah wrapped up in flesh. And so these are the words of the Master. These are the words of Yahuwah. The same words that were spoken in 1 John chapter 5. John chapter 14, verse 15. Read, little one.
If you love me, you shall guard my commands.
If you love me, you shall guard my commands. His commandments was what? Given to his covenant people. They weren't given to any other people. The nations don't obey his commands. No, they don't. Ephraim doesn't obey his commands. Does not obey his commands. No, he doesn't. Ephraim is amongst the nations. Ephraim is every nation, tribe, and tongue. But it's true covenant people, Yahudah. We love him. We love him. This is how you identify us as his covenant people. By our love for one another and our love for him. And this manifests in compassion, and this manifests in obedience to his commandments, of which was given only to his covenant people. His covenant people indeed are identified also through righteousness. Righteousness is obedience to his commandments. Love is the way. Love is the way. Love is the way of his covenant people. Love is the way back to Mount Zion. Give us another precept.
Matthew 24, 4 through 12.
Ruach, Yahudah. The contrast of this is the opposite of love. The contrast of this is the opposite of love, Yahudah. And the master, he does not want us to be ignorant. He wants us to understand what that true love looks like. We must understand what true love looks like. And that's important, because where you find it again, you'll find his true covenant people. You'll find him in the midst. You'll find his presence. And you'll find the cloud leading that covenant people to Mount Zion. So you must understand. You must understand what it looks like. Because some folks will tell you that they love you, Yahudah. Some folks will tell you that they love you, and they will even act out the acts of love. But inside, Yahudah, they are cold-blooded snakes. Inside, they are cold-blooded snakes. They will even show some acts of love, they'll show the pretense of love. They'll give you an appearance of love to make you think that they are truly, authentically loving. Just watch them for a while. Watch them for a while, because the heart gonna find them out. Their heart is going to show that they are a cold-blooded snake inside. And that is reminiscent of the time that we're in. There are many that will say that they love you. But indeed, inside, they are cold-blooded snakes. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And they are not his covenant people. Come on, give us a precept. Matthew chapter 24. What verses, little one?
4 through 12.
Verses 4 through 12. Matthew chapter 4. 24. Matthew chapter 24. Yahudah chapter 24. Verses 4 through 12. You must identify his covenant people. And you must attach yourselves through Yahushua HaMashiach. And walk as his covenant people, Yahudah. If you desire to escape the hour of trial, we must be found walking as Yahudym, being found well-doing, walking the way of love. To be found well-doing is to walk the way of love. And this will lead us to Mount Zion. And we will hear those words, "Well done, my good and my trustworthy servant." But we must beware. We must beware in this season, lest we be led out to the valley of Oh no, saying, "Oh no, how did I end up here?" Yahudah chapter 24, verses 4 through 12, beginning at verse 4. Read, little one.
And Yahushua answering said to them,
Yes?
"Take heed that no one leads you astray. For many shall come in my name, saying,
Many shall come in my name, saying," he's speaking about the end days of which we are in. Read.
"I am the Mashiach, and they shall lead many astray. And you shall begin to hear of fightings and reports of fightings. See that you are not troubled, for these have to take place, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and reign against reign, and there shall be scarcities of food, and deadly diseases, and earthquakes in places, and all these are the beginning of birth pains. Then they shall deliver you up to affliction and kill you. And you shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many shall stumble, and they shall deliver up one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise up and lead many astray. And because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold."
And because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall wax cold, shall become cold. He said many, Yahudah. He said many. Many shall become cold. So there are many who say they love you, but indeed inside they are cold-blooded snakes. They're cold-blooded snakes. Love has no pretense. Love has no pretense. The master used an analogy of what some men have done in the world. But some of you even have to do this in your marriage. You even have to do this in your marriage. You have to give your wife gifts in order to get what is lawfully yours. You have to wine and dine her. You have to take her out on dates. You have to give her gifts in order to get what's lawfully yours. That's pretense. That's pretense. And if you are truly in covenant with the master, man or woman, and you have to do this to get what's lawfully yours, that's not a covenant marriage. That's not a covenant marriage. Your wife ain't a true Yahudim. If she's acting like the world, wanting date nights and wanting you to do this, wanting to feel appreciated, wanting you to give her gifts to show your appreciation to her, that's of the world. That's of the world. That is of the world. And that is a Jezebel spirit who is full of pretense, causing you to give her a thing to give in order to give you what is lawfully yours, your marital rights. That's not of the master. That is not of the master. We are commanded to submit ourselves to one another and serving one another. Your body is not your own. Hers is not her own, and yours is not her own. Wherefore a man shall leave his mother and father's house and cleave and take hold of his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This is a commandment. You don't get to withhold. You don't get to say, I feel unappreciated. Using your husband to give you gifts to feel appreciated. Pretense to give him what's lawfully his. The hearts of many have waxed cold. They have waxed cold, many. Many. And when you're giving them gifts, they'll tell you that they love you. Oh, I love you. I appreciate you so much, hubby. I appreciate you. Then they, if you give them a good enough gift, and these are even daughters of Yahudah. You give them a good enough gift, they'll appear to you in some kind of nightgown, a teddy, some see-through nightgown, but they're supposed to be a daughter of Zion. And this act ain't supposed to be about lust. But if you give them a good enough gift, they'll wear something real nice for you. That's not Yahudah. That's not his covenant people. That's a cold-blooded snake. That's a cold-blooded snake. The hearts of many have waxed cold. Understand what true love looks like. A true daughter of Zion, an obedient wife, will submit to you without pretense. Without you having to wine and dine her and take her on a date night. She will submit to you because she loves the master. And she will submit to you as though she is submitting to the master. Yes, she will. Yes, she will. Without pretense. Without pretense. Because she's serving the master. And she's submitting to you and she's reverencing you as though she's reverencing Yahudah. Anything else is a cold-blooded snake. Yes, it is. It's a cold-blooded snake. The hearts of many shall wax cold. So he wants us to know the difference. He wants us to know the difference. Give us another precept, little one.
Revelation 2, 1 through 5.
Revelation chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. Revelation 2, verses 1 through 5. Revelation chapter 2. Verses 1 through 5. Revelation, Kazum, chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. We don't have very much further to go. Kazum, Revelation 2, verses 1 through 5. Beginning at verse 1. Come on, read, little one.
To the messenger of the assembly of Ephesus write. He who is holding the 7 stars in his right hand, who is walking in the midst of the 7 golden lampstands, says this, I know your works.
I know your works, read.
And your labor, and your endurance.
Yes.
And that you are not able to bear evil ones. And have tried those who say they are emissaries and are not.
You're real zealous. Come on, read.
And have found them false. And you have been bearing up and have endurance. And have labored for my name's sake. And have not become weary. But I hold this against you.
Yeah, you've endured. You've guarded his word of endurance. You've guarded his word of endurance. You're real zealous. You're real zealous, Yahudah. And you've guarded his word of endurance. But, read.
that you have left your first love.
You left your first love. What is that first love? You shall love Yahudah, your Elohim, with all your heart, your mind, your strength, your being. You shall love him with everything you got. You've left your first love. Come on, read.
So remember from where you have fallen and repent.
So remember from where you have fallen, Yahudah, and repent, read.
And do the first works.
And do the first works of love. Of love. Love is the way. And do the first works of love. Come on, read.
Or else I shall come to you speedily.
And
remove your lampstand.
Or else I shall come to you speedily and remove your lampstand from its place. Read.
Unless you repent.
Unless you repent. You ain't going to Mount Zion without love. Love is the way. Love is the way. And this is a warning. Love is the way. Lisa, remove your lampstand. Love is the way. Repent. Love is the way. Love is the way. We ain't getting to Mount Zion without walking the way of love. This is our first love. This is our first love. To love the Master Yahuwah with all of our heart, mind, strength, and being. This is our first love. And if you are true Yahudah, you will either return to this, or this is where you are. And this is what you will find truly in the midst of his covenant people. Give us another precept, little one.
Revelation 3:14-16.
Revelation 3:14 through 16. Hear him. Revelation 3, verses 14 through 16. Previously, in Yahudah chapter 24, verses 4 through 12, he said that the hearts of many will wax cold. That the hearts of many will wax cold. Let's take a look now. Revelation 3, verses 14 through 16. Kazum, Revelation chapter 3, verses 14 through 16. Beginning at verse 14. Come on, read, little one.
And to the messenger of the assembly in Laodicea write, the Amen, the trustworthy and true witness,
yes,
the beginning of the creation of Elohim says this, I know your works.
I know your works, read.
That you are neither cold nor hot.
That you are neither cold nor hot, read.
I would that you were cold or hot.
I would that you were cold or hot.
So because you are lukewarm.
Because you're lukewarm.
And neither cold nor hot.
And neither cold nor hot.
I'm going to vomit you out of my mouth.
I'm going to vomit you out of my mouth. I'm going to vomit you out of my mouth. Now many have misconstrued this passage to believe that the master is okay with one being cold. He's not okay with one being cold. Because listen here, if you are full of him, if you are full of his Ruach, because he is what? He is a consuming fire, then you're going to be hot. If you are full of his Ruach, and he is a consuming fire, then you're going to be hot. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're going to be hot. But listen, I've heard stories of entities of demons coming into people's dwellings. And the environment turning deathly cold inside. I've read books to where it was so cold when an entity came in that their breath, it crystallized. It crystallized. The master says that you're hot or cold, make your choice. He's not saying be cold and I'm good with it. He says either you're going to be hot, either you're going to be full of my consuming fire, the Ruach HaKodesh, or you're going to be a cold-blooded snake. He ain't saying I accept you cold-blooded. I'm not accepting you to be cold. I'm not accepting your heart to be cold. But make your calling and election sure. Decide what you're going to be. Either you're going to be hot or you're going to be cold. But don't you dare, you cold-blooded snake, try to mix yourself with my people, mixing yourself with my Kadush things. I'm going to vomit you out of my mouth. Don't you dare try to mix. Don't you dare try to hide. Be who you are. Be who you are. Either you are hot and full of my Ruach and full of my consuming fire, but you are cold, or you're a cold-blooded snake. You're cold-hearted. Don't try to hide. Be who you are. Be who you are. But because you're not being who you are, you're trying to mix yourself and you become lukewarm. I'm going to vomit you out of my mouth. You're strange fire. You are strange fire. You're Abihu and Nadab. You're strange fire. Trying to mix the clean with the unclean. You're strange fire. Either you're hot or you're cold. Either you're hot or you're cold. If you're cold, don't try to hide. Confess. Confess your nakedness. Come before the master so that he can warm your heart. Don't try to hide. If you're cold-blooded, you're cold-blooded. Don't try to hide it. Confess it so that he can fill your heart full of warmth. So that he can deliver you and fill your heart full of warmth. Because if you try to mix that clean, the unclean with the unclean, the cold and the hot, he's going to vomit you out of his mouth. Everything is naked before him. You can't hide. You can't hide. So the master here in Revelation 22, I think we're getting ready to read that.
Yes.
Revelation 22 says, if you hot, be hot. If you're cold, be cold. But don't try to mix. Because that's putrid to me. That's profane to me. That's strange fire to me. If you're going to be cold, be cold. If you're going to be hot, be hot. But don't try to mix. And so we get this understanding, a further understanding of this now in Revelation 22. What verse, LaWan?
11 and 12.
Verses 11 and 12. Revelation 22, verses 11 and 12. Revelation 22, verses 11 and 12. Understand, Yahudah. Understand. Some are cold-blooded snakes. They got pretense. They got pretense, and they're really cold-blooded snakes trying to mix with those of us who are hot. Not knowing that the master's going to vomit them out of his mouth. Because they trying to mix our strange fire. They're trying to mix the profane with the clean. And he's going to vomit them out of his mouth. So he's saying be hot or cold. Revelation 22 verses what, little one?
11 and 12.
11 and 12. Read verse 11 and 12.
He who does wrong.
He who does wrong. If you're cold, be cold. Read.
Let him do more wrong.
Let him do more wrong.
He who is filthy.
He who is filthy. If you're cold, be cold. Let him be more filthy. Read.
Let him be more filthy.
Yes.
He who is righteous.
He who is righteous, who is hot. Read.
Let him be more righteous.
Let him be more righteous. Let him be loving. Come on, read.
He who is kadosh.
He who is kadosh.
Let him be more kadosh.
Let him be more kadosh. Either you're hot or you're cold. If you're cold, be cold. He who was doing wrong, let him do more wrong. He who was doing wickedness, let him do more wickedness. Either you're cold or you're hot, but don't try to mix. That's putrid. Choose who you're going to be. Choose who you're going to be. Read.
And see, I am coming speedily.
See, I'm coming speedily.
And my reward is with me.
And my reward is with me.
To give to each according to his work.
To give to each according to his works. And when he come, if you're trying to mix that, strange fire, knowing that you're cold-blooded, that you're a cold-blooded snake, and you're trying to mix with his warm kadosh people, he gonna vomit you out of his mouth. He's gonna vomit you out of his mouth. Either you're cold or you're hot. And he says these exact words. If you're going to be hot, be hot. If you're going to be cold, be cold. If you're going to wrong, do more wrong. If you're going to do wickedness, do more wickedness. But if you're going to do righteousness, do more righteousness. Righteousness equates to love. Yes, it does. Righteousness, it equates to love. It equates to love. If you're going to love more. Love more. So that you end up at Mount Zion with his covenant people, with the 144,000 and those who are attached to us. Give us another precept, little one.
Galatians 5, 22 and 23.
Galatians chapter 5, and we're almost done. Galatians chapter 5, what verse, little one?
22 and 23.
22 and 23. Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 and 23. Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 through 23. If you have the seal of the living Elohim, that means that you have a consuming fire inside of you. That means that you are warm. You're not cold. If you have his Ruach, who is a consuming fire, as the text declares, for truly I immerse in water. This is the words of Yahudah. But there's one coming after me who will immerse in fire, or with fire. If you have the Ruach HaKadosh in you, the seal of the living Elohim, then there's a consuming fire in you, and you're warm. You're not cold-blooded, and which means that you are his covenant people, because the Ruach is the seal, is the seal of his covenant people. Yes, he is. He is the seal of his covenant people. And if you have him, you are warm. You're not cold. You're not cold, and you're a part of his covenant people. And if you have him, in accordance with Galatians chapter 5 here, verses 22 and 23, you're what, little one?
But the fruit of the Ruach is love.
But the fruit of the Ruach is love. Hear him, listen. Listen, it's love. It's love. And love is what? Have you ever heard the term, little one, warm and loving?
Yes.
Warm and loving. You can't be cold and loving. You can't be cold and loving. The fruit of the Ruach is warm and loving. Warm, having the fire, having the warmth of the Ruach inside of you. You can't help be loving, and you can't help be a part of his covenant people. Where you find love, where you find the fruit of the Ruach, you will find his covenant people. Love, warm and loving. Read. What else?
Joy.
Joy.
Shalom. Patience.
Yes.
Kindness. Goodness.
Warm and kind, warm and good. Come on.
Trustworthiness. Gentleness.
Warm and gentle. Come on.
Self-control.
Yeah.
Against such there is no Torah.
Against such there is no condemnation. Against such there is no condemnation. Against such there is no judgment. There is no judgment. He will not leave us for the judgment of the great distress. He will not leave his covenant people for the judgment of the great distress. Those who are warm and loving, gentle and kind, who will walk in the way of love. This will lead us to Mount Zion. Where you find this, where you find love, you will find his true covenant people. You will find the Ruach. You will find Yahudah, who is love. Who is love. I think we got one more precept, little one. Barak Yahuwah. One more precept, and then the master is done. Line upon line, precept upon precept. Indeed, love is the way. Love is the way to Mount Zion.
Ephesians 5, 1 and 2.
Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1 and 2. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Ephesians chapter 5, Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Beginning at verse 1 of Ephesians chapter 5. Read, little one.
Become then imitators of Elohim.
Listen, become then imitators of Elohim. Follow the cloud. Follow the cloud. Imitate the cloud. The cloud manifesting himself in flesh. Love becoming flesh. Become imitators of Elohim. Follow the cloud. Love is the way. Read.
As beloved children.
As beloved children. Read.
And walk in love.
And walk in love. To be imitators of him. To follow the cloud is the way of love. This will lead us to Mount Zion. Where you find this, you find his true covenant children. Read.
As Mashiach also has loved us.
As Mashiach has also loved us. Barak Yahuwah.
And gave himself for us a gift and an offering to Elohim.
And gave himself as a gift and an offering to Elohim, walking the way of love, even until death upon the stake. Read.
For a sweet smelling fragrance.
For a sweet smelling fragrance. Indeed, love is the way. We must become imitators of the cloud and follow the cloud. Love is the way. And where you find true love, you'll find his true covenant people. You'll find true Yahudym. You'll find the Ruach HaKadosh. You'll find the presence of Yahuwah. You'll find Yahushua HaMashiach. You'll find love because Yahuwah, indeed, he is love. Thank you, Master, for another building block. We thank you for your patience in preparing your children, Yahudah, to be kept from the hour of trial. It is my prayer that these words indeed, but they are not falling on deaf ears, Master, but they are falling on good, fertilized ground, solid ground, Master. It's ground made conducive to the planting of word, of seed, such that it is prepared to receive the pouring out of living water, to cause that seed, that word to grow, to produce fruit, the fruit of righteousness, the fruit of love, that leads to everlasting life, and that will lead us to Mount Zion. It is my prayer, my Master, that this word will not return void to you, but that it will accomplish that which you have sent it forth to do. It is my prayer, my Master, that this word has not fallen by the wayside, that it has not fallen such that Hasatan has come down and snatched it right away. It is my prayer that it has not fallen on shallow soil, shallow ground, that soil that is the soil of the heart, that is not sufficiently broken up and not deep enough for the planting of seed, such that that seed, when it is planted, because it does not have sufficient depth, that it springs up and the sun comes down immediately and bears down and beats down on it, and it withers and dies. It is my prayer that this word has not been scattered, this seed has not been scattered amongst thorns, such that the cares of this world, such that the seeking of attention and the desires of life, the lust of the flesh and of the eyes, and the desires of this world and the cares of this world does not choke that word out. But indeed, it is my prayer that this word, this seed, that will lead to everlasting life, that will lead to Mount Zion, has fallen on good, sufficiently broken up, fertilized soil with the right pH levels that is just right and conducive for the planting of seed, such that your living water will come forth and pour out on that seed and cause that seed to grow to become a mighty fruit-producing tree, producing fruit that leads to everlasting life. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, so be it, so be it, so be it. For those of you who are on YouTube, once again, we're grateful that you'll stop by to spend this Shabbat Yom with Yahuah's Remnant, of whom we're not some 501(c) organization, not some church, not some camp, not some entity. We simply are who we are, and that is Yahuah's Remnant people. We pray that the word that has been spoken and that continues to be spoken is challenging you, that it has edified you, convicted you, and it is making you better, and it is causing you to be more discerning, to understand what true Yahudym look like and what the house of Ephraim look like, because indeed your very life, it depends on it. But not only finding the true house of Yahudah, but attaching yourself to the house of Yahudah, and not just attaching yourself to the house of Yahudah, his covenant people, through Yahushua HaMashiach, but indeed walking as Yahudym, whether native born or stranger, walking as Yahudym. Until the next time, may Yahuwah barak you and guard you. May Yahuwah shine his face upon you and show his favor upon you. May Yahuwah lift up his face upon you and give you shalom. Thus you shall put my name on the children of Yahshua, and I myself shall barak them. So be it, so be it, so be it. Shalom.